Welcome to the Peak of Possibility podcast, brought to you by Peak Path Health. If you're enjoying the show, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember, if you or someone you care about is facing challenges, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to support you on your journey to health and wellness. Welcome to the Peak of Possibility podcast. My name is Glynis Franz, and I am your host. And today we have Marc, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He is at the forefront of research into PTSD and trauma, and is the co-creator of... Are you the co-creator?
I don't know if I'm the co-creator.
Okay.
I'd say I was the co-creator.
So what would you call yourself?
I don't know how I would kind of label myself. But not the co-creator. I mean, I'm involved certainly on some of a couple of the teams at UCLA that are doing work and research on clinical trials, running clinical trials on two psychedelic medications in particular. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to talk about it. Yeah. That was really interesting. We met at a holiday party and kind of got into the throes of chit-chatting, and I was really interested to talk more about it. I mean, obviously the Peak of Possibility podcast is geared towards recovery, but I don't limit recovery just to substance use disorders, also recovery for mental health challenges. And I do believe, even though I'm a person who abstains from all substances because that's what works best for me, that there is some pretty interesting stuff that's coming out as far as MDMA and ketamine and psychedelics. And you're really involved in some of these studies that are happening right now. And so I'd love to kind of get into it. How did you start this journey?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the details of a couple of the studies in particular, I can't talk too much in detail about because one of them is actually in the kind of the precursor phase where we're just kind of preparing for it. But I've been involved obviously at UCLA for many years, and one of my close colleagues who was a kind of head of population health and one of the kind of division directors there. Dr. Jessica Jeffrey, had kind of just recruited me into this, knowing very little, about psychedelic medications and what they kind of do and what they're kind of utilized, what their utilizations are. Mm-hmm. And
I think most people know very little, right?
Most people know very little.
The research is just really beginning for the most part.
It really is the Wild West in a way. It's really kind of at the forefront. It's really beginning, and there's a lot of pioneers out there. So, I mean, obviously they've been around for a long time, right? Recreationally, but
we're not talking about like taking a bunch of mushrooms and right?
No, we're not. We're definitely not. Yeah. Or MDMA or certainly ketamine. But, she and I just had a good working relationship and we shared a lot of the same ideas, and she thought, just kind of by chance, that it might be an area of interest for me, and she was getting heavily involved in this work as well and had a lot of interest in it, so she just kind of pulled me in, so...
How long ago was that?
This was probably it's been, I think, 3 years now.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah. So
tell me... Currently, you're working on the MDMA study, correct?
So I'm working on, I am kind of, she and I have a ketamine clinic actually at UCLA, a very small ketamine clinic. And they do have other, ketamine kind of, systems at UCLA, but ours is very kind of particular, and very, very, very tiny.
What's particular about it?
Well, it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
So it's really, really small.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very interested in kind of low dose ketamine and what kind of an enhancement, around the therapy itself. So so we have a very, very small amount of patients. We also take insurance there, which is kind of a unique situation for ketamine. There's a lot of ketamine clinics out in the community. Very expensive, extraordinary. These boutiques out there, people are just kind of, hooking people up to IVs and
100%.
Yeah. So
that's not what you guys are doing. That's
not what we're doing. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I guess a better question would be is what is the most effective method in your experience thus far in treating patients with ketamine, and also what does it treat?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of specify that it's really for treatment-resistant depression, right? So folks who are, coming in that really, really have been struggling with depression, they've tried all kinds of traditional medications, traditional therapies, and it really has not been effective for them. So that's really what we're interested in. That's really what we kind of we stay in that kind of wheelhouse. And obviously, I think there's. Yeah, it's funny. I'd be speaking out of turn a bit if I'm not really an expert in the kind of biology of it, the science of it, but I think that ketamine can be effective in these larger kind of doses, but under really watchful eye. I mean, obviously, in the press, there's been a lot of press about this kind of thing with, obviously well known
figures,
Matthew Perry and things like people like that. But so I think under the watchful watchful appropriate kind of application and with psychiatrists or what other physicians there are that it can be I think it can be effective for people under a higher kind of dose. Mm-hmm. We don't do that, right? We're really more interested in the therapy of it. And within a small dose of ketamine, you can actually have a very kind of cognizant conversation. Mm-hmm. People are not kind of under any, they're not out, right?
They're not highly intoxicated.
Yeah, they're not
in a gray hole.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's right. So we're able to carry on a pretty thoughtful conversation about some of these problems that they're struggling with, and a lot of it, as I said, is much of it's geared towards this kind of nasty depression that's been playing at them and tugging at them for a long time that they've been unable to really shake. So and I think anecdotally we seem to be having some success. People seem to be feeling that's helpful, and so that's kind of what we do in that particular clinic, and it's very small, and it takes up a very small amount of my particular kind of time and practice at the moment. I'm also involved in the psilocybin study there, so as a therapist,
right?
And then this MDMA clinic, which is very exciting, that Dr. Jeffrey and I are kind of. She's really kind of,
because at this point, at least based on what I hear in the public and the press. Yeah. There's a lot of people are warming up to the idea of psilocybin being a method of treatment for complex PTSD. Absolutely. But you hear a little bit less about MDMA.
Yeah, you really do. And I think, I don't know all the details to that, but I know that I think the MAPS program out there and
what does MAPS stand for?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I can.
I'm going to stop me here. Yeah, but the MAPS program, I think, was slightly involved in it, and also, I think there was a point where I think, unless I'm again speaking out of turn, I think they were close to having an FDA approval on MDMA, on an MDMA medication, and then I think it was pulled. So right now it's simply clinical trials and
multidisciplinary. Association for Psychedelic-Assisted.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds right. And there's other places that also have come studying it, but so we are going to be studying it with a transitional youth population, which is kind of 18 to 22.
Why that age range?
I'm not sure. It's something that Dr. Jeffrey has kind of been able to get secure funding for and things like that. So, and I think pretty sure it's through NIH and so we're going to be dealing with obviously complex PTSD. That's really the form of treatment.
How do you define
trauma focused kind of?
How do you define complex PTSD as it pertains to this particular study?
Well, I mean, they'll have to have
these days. you talk to most people.
Everyone has PTSD.
Everybody has
So they'll have
PTSD.
to have kind of a formal, DSM, diagnostic kind of criteria that will meet for PTSD, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a trauma focused type of,
So some kind of really traumatic event has taken place in their life, and they're experiencing symptoms from that. Sort of like flashbacks, nightmares, or that kind of stuff. Disassociation.
That's right.
Got it. Okay.
You got it. So the study has a start. We haven't begun the study. We're still in the kind of preliminary, process of putting it together. But it should be, ready to go in the summer.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. It's exciting. I think it's a 2-year. It's a 2-year trial. So.
And can you tell me a little bit about what the intention is as far as the administration, or what the study looks like? Okay, how many people are in the study? What is the first session? Or
Yeah, so I can't talk about the details of the study at the moment because it's not. Yeah, so unfortunately, but
it's a secret.
it's a secret. But yeah, there's there are some kind of rules and regulations around that kind of thing. So
Got it.
in the protocol and things like that. So I can't talk too much about those things, but just in general, it's going to run about 2 years. The criteria, as I said, is something complex PTSD, in that particular age range. And, I think we're going to be doing about 15, it's a brief, a brief protocol. So it's about 15, consolidated sessions with patients that are, so it's really exciting. And, it's kind of really interesting. I mean, I never anticipated, that this would be an area that I would be kind of.
You would find yourself in.
Yeah. I never kind of.
Have you had the opportunity to work with anybody yet who had been administered MDMA?
I have not.
So until the study begins, it'll be your first time.
This would be the first.
Have you ever been around people on MDMA?
I have certainly been around.
Okay.
Yes. Absolutely. So, yes, that not so foreign. Yes. Not a usually foreign concept. Yes. So, it should be an interesting protocol.
And
we'll see what happens.
What about the psilocybin study? Have you already began that? Is it over? Are you in the process of?
It's in the kind of part of it. It's been going on for some time now. I've been involved with that. I don't know how long they've been actually up and kind of running. I kind of joined about a year in, or six months to a year into the trial there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot more psilocybin studies going on out there. So I think at UCLA there's multiple studies with specified populations and
is the specified population for the psilocybin study also CBT?
It's really depression, and it's CBT based.
Oh.
Kind of study.
CBT meaning cognitive
behavioral therapy. Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
Books.
No, awesome. So,
shorthand. But yes, so and that also, I know that the results have been kind of coming in, and they've all been
positive,
really, really positive results. Yeah.
In your personal opinion, not based on the study, what have you as a clinician seen to be more effective, or what do you prefer to work with, ketamine or psilocybin?
You're putting me on the spot. I think they're a bit different.
How so?
Well, the psilocybin is more of a stronger, kind
more
of
intense experience.
It's a more intense experience,
Ketamine's
right?
a little bit more soft.
Well, certainly the ketamine that we're administering, right, is super low dose, and they may experience and feel some effects from it, but it's really mild. So it's really more about the therapy itself.
Right.
The psilocybin study, they're getting,
they're in it.
And it's, and then
they're having an experience.
And then there's therapy that surrounds it. Obviously, much of it's not during their experience, but
it's right after.
So there are, it's a kind of a 15 16 session, and there's 2 medication sessions.
Got it. So they're doing therapy before, they're doing therapy
that's
after.
right. Yeah, I wasn't clear about that. Yeah. That's kind of the protocol. That's kind of, and that is also how the MDMA study is going to be.
So when you administer the psilocybin, how many hours does that last? 4, 5, 6 hours?
No.
And so are they in like the clinical setting while they're experiencing that? And they're with the therapist?
Therapist, psychiatrist. They're with 2 therapists, psychiatrists. Oh yeah. So it's a very...
It's a whole day experience.
Very whole day and contained.
Yeah.
And very, it's clinical. It's very clinical.
Yeah,
so
of course.
And
so as a person working in the recovery space and being in recovery myself, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten calls from individuals who are struggling with severe substance use disorder, drug addiction. And they call and they say, I need to get into treatment. I say, you know what? Never mind. I'm actually going to go do, a ketamine infusion instead. Do you have any opinion on whether that would be an effective thing? And do you guys treat people with a history of substance use disorder?
We don't, actually. That's kind of what...
It's a rule out.
That's a rule out.
Yeah. Why is that? You don't know?
Well, I mean...
You have an idea, right?
Yeah.
Just in your opinion, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, substance use is a as you know, is another story, right? It's an added component.
Right.
Right. To mental illness, right?
Absolutely.
So, folks that are struggling with substances and,
well, you would think it would be a rule out for, if I had to guess, for a few reasons, and correct me if I'm wrong. One, if you have a history of substance use disorder, maybe picking up a substance might trigger that addiction, right?
So
secondary, if somebody's actively using substances outside of what's being prescribed to them, illicit substances, unprescribed, I would imagine the research would not be super effective, because how engaged can a person be in a therapeutic experience when they're actively under the influence of, illicit substances, right?
Yeah, not a good idea.
Yeah.
So, right, I mean, obviously, look, Matt, not to drop names, right? But Matthew Perry is a perfect example of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody should have been giving him ketamine, right?
No.
That would have been, right?
It's crazy. Especially,
crazy is a good word.
Yeah, not to say that people with substance use disorder, maybe there can be a benefit for someone who has been in remission for a period of time and is experiencing severe PTSD. I don't know. I go back and forth. I see both sides of it.
Right. If it's super controlled and it's...
Controlled is the key.
Right. Very therapeutic, in a very, very contained...
Yeah.
But that's I don't know what that environment would look like, really. I mean, that's a...
Yeah. For me, I know that abstinence is the only path for me personally, and for many people like me that I know. Yeah. But again, I try to be, I think I used to be pretty, strict and stringent, and there is only one way to get sober, and there's only one way to do it. And I think I'm a little bit more open these days to people having, their own journey and experience and their own path to recovery. So I think maybe in the right settings, after years of remission, in a controlled setting, it could potentially help someone.
Yeah, potentially.
But it also could go terribly wrong.
It could go extremely, extremely wrong. So we don't take that risk.
Yeah.
Right. We don't take. It's just a huge liability. We're not interested in being. It's a. Yeah. No. That's not.
Yeah.
Something we would. It just sounds horribly irresponsible to me.
Scary.
Yeah. Pretty terrifying. So yeah. That's not simplistic.
So have you, how did you end up becoming a clinician? Like, what led you down this path?
Great question. I have no idea. It was a culmination of things.
You worked in Hollywood, right?
I worked in Hollywood.
In film?
Yeah, I worked in film and television. And for a long time.
You look like a guy that worked in film and television.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Whatever. What does that look like?
I don't know. You just have the look.
Well, So yeah, I did that for I was working all kinds of different areas of that crazy business. but I'd always been kind of had an eye on psychology, right? I mean, telling stories and hearing stories, and it always intrigued me, and people's stories were always interesting to me, and it was, my own stories. I would tell my own stories, right? And of course had my fair share of therapy, and like we probably many of us have had.
I would hope. I mean, a lot of therapists don't go to therapy.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of heard that.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I had my own multiple therapists, and some of them were extremely inspiring, and it just felt like it felt natural to me. It felt like a natural progression of being kind of, always interested in psychology. I spent some time as a writer, as an actor, and had always, obviously been interested in how people behave.
Right.
Right. And so, and then coupled with my own therapy, I just thought at some point I just found myself feeling like the Hollywood was not the place that I was going to find meaning and fulfillment, right? Somebody had said something to me once, early in my kind of time. It was a therapist, actually. My first therapist said to me, we were talking, I was a kid, and she had said to me, she had a very thick Austrian accent, actually, come up with out of a movie.
Yeah.
But she said to me, Hollywood either supports you or it doesn't support you.
Right.
I had no idea what she was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older and I was doing it and more in it, and having some success here and there, and and then not, and then some, and then I kind of understood what she meant. I was like, oh yeah, it does. It either you don't have a lot of control,
right,
around that kind of thing, and
completely out of your hands. Either
it's completely out of your hands, and life unfolds the way it's going to unfold, as another therapist of mine said to me once, and he was right about that.
Right.
And I think a lot of us struggle with that, and I think that a lot of folks who show up in my office, actually, that's a big component of something that they struggle with, that the idea that life
is treating them wrong.
Life is treating them wrong, but life unfolds the way it's going to unfold. And how do you find yourself able to navigate that, negotiate that,
right, that
idea, right? Because that can create a lot of anxiety, uncertainty, and things. But anyways, right. So I found myself on the set of a movie as an actor, and and it was a pretty legitimate film. That one,
what film?
Called Broken, that Heather Graham and Jeremy Sisto were starring in, and Linda Hamilton was in it. Right. It was actually a really kind of interesting cast. Randall Batinkoff, some interesting folks, and who had pretty good careers. And so, and I found myself as one of the featured kind of players, as opposed to just some actor who's doing a line or two here.
Right.
Right. Well, yeah, but
smaller role,
right? And I was looking around, saying, I kind of the director. It's one of where the director actually talks to you, right?
Yeah.
Talks to your characters. So I was like, oh wow, and I was on most of the film and this and that, and I just kind of looked around and felt. So I said, oh, okay, so this is it. This is what you're doing. This is what, and I just said, God, I'm kind of bored.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It was a strange thing. It just kind of organically happened, and I found myself going back to school.
Wow.
And seeing how that worked, and it just kept, unfolding, and I seemed to be pulled into it, and really thought, oh, this feels right, and found myself 20 some years ago doing it, and so it's been a long time now. But
now you're a seasoned clinician. Around the block.
Whatever that means, but yeah. I suppose so. So that's kind of how I found my way into the world of therapy, and it's been a great
run.
Got a great run. I think I may have made the right decision. You never know about decisions.
You never know.
You never know. So
life unfolds as it unfolds.
Life unfolds. That's what it is. Right?
It's true. You never really know. You really don't know where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and as things happen, if you're like connected and you have enough awareness to kind of be present to whatever experience you're having. Sometimes you look around and you're like, oh, this is great. Other times you look around and you're like, this is terrible. I actually don't want to be doing this thing. But you have to have that like connection to self in order to kind of have the awareness. Because sometimes things can be amazing and people will be miserable. It doesn't matter what's happening, good or bad, right?
Well, sure. That's part of the struggle, right? That's part of the day-to-day. But struggle that most of us have, that kind of existential thing, right? But yeah, I think that's what happens, right? That's how we kind of make decisions or don't make decisions, and they can be difficult to make. People, I mean, certainly in my world, I mean, folks struggle with with that often, right? How do I?
Oh, I'm sure that's probably like the majority.
They find themselves stuck, right?
Yeah,
they'll find themselves stuck a lot.
So in your private practice, you work primarily with couples and men, right?
I would say that is the predominant population.
Yeah,
as I would say. But yeah, I work. That just seems to be who shows up. If in my office.
And when you're working with men on your individual level, what do you see presently? And obviously you can't get specific, I'd imagine, but what do you see a lot of gentlemen coming in and struggling with, and how do you help them navigate some of those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of in the ballpark of vulnerability, right?
Right.
I think we're men. We are just kind of acculturated in some way to not be vulnerable,
right?
In some way, right? To do whatever we can to kind of protect ourselves from vulnerability and from.
And how do you define the vulnerability? I think it looks different for everyone, right?
Yeah, it does.
So when you say vulnerability in men, tell me what you mean. Like emotions?
Yeah, I think it's feeling.
Or because I mean, I would, if I had to guess, I'm not a man, so I don't know, but I'm someone who has struggled with vulnerability.
Yeah, but it's not just a male.
Yeah, totally.
It's not just a masculine.
And a lot of my challenges in how I see what vulnerability is like vulnerability means emotional, which I still experience emotions, right? Yeah. I struggle to express them to other people, right? In a way that is like healthy. So oftentimes and this is something I've done my own therapy on. It's like it shows as being cold or withdrawn or not caring, right?
Yeah.
I have to guess that probably that might be some of the stuff that some of the gentlemen that you see.
Yeah, I think you're onto it, right? I mean, I think it's about. I mean, it's that kind of cliche thing that therapists, right? That you hear, how are you feeling? Yeah. How do you feel? But I think there's something to that, right?
It is cliche, but it's true because I've had my therapist. I was just telling you, me and my husband do couples therapy every Tuesday, and she'll always do like, so how did that make you feel? And I'll find myself telling her what I think.
Yes.
Well, I think that, and this is what, my thought process is. Yeah. But she's like, no, but what is the feeling behind the thought? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm 33 years old. I should be able to know whether I'm angry, sad, mad, frustrated, hurt, whatever. But a lot of the time, I can't name it. Right?
So you end up skirting the feeling.
Yeah.
You're kind of skirting the therapist, right?
Totally.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I think that's a big piece of it, right? And I also, I think people like it's a thing, right? But I see folks struggle with asking for what they need.
Or even knowing, right?
maybe that's where it starts, right? Is kind of where how do checking in with yourself, like about what you need.
Like, what do I need and how do I take this?
Right. And how do I communicate it? That's right.
In a way that's productive, right? Because sometimes when you're just, generally speaking, I'm hurt, I'm angry, and I need to feel validated, but I don't even know that that's what I need or what I'm trying to do. So I go about it in some toxic, explosive way, which I imagine, a lot of gentlemen probably struggle with that. Some anger stuff and, not being able to express it. And really they just want to be heard or seen, right?
I think so, right? I think that sounds accurate to me. I think there's you're describing what I would kind of frame as you need reassurance, right? Which is, I think, difficult for sometimes to ask for.
Right.
Right? It's like, I don't want to ask for that,
Because that would be vulnerable.
That would be we may not get it.
And if I'm vulnerable, then maybe I'm a pussy. I'm not man enough.
Right. That's right.
So is there a lot of masculinity stuff that you see as well?
You think? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I think it gets in the way there.
Yeah.
Right? The kind of masculinity, patriarchy, all that kind of, all of those, those discourses that are, floating around in our culture, right? So has a big impact on men in particular in specific ways. And,
right.
Obviously it has a, gender, there are gender specific, distinctions there, right? So, but yeah, I think that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about vulnerability. We're talking about, how do you negotiate your feelings, right? Because I think personally, if you can do that, you can kind of get through anything. If you're comfortable, right, sitting in bad feelings or whatever uncomfortable feeling that you might, be having in the moment, and finding your way to negotiate through that and not feeling somehow recruited or hijacked by those experiences, that you can kind of feel, I think you feel pretty empowered to be able to navigate your way through most circumstances or most situations in life, right? It's kind of what it's our equipment, right? It's our, people talk about tools or whatever, people come to me with all the time, I'm not tools. But, I don't know, tools, okay. But yes, that's kind of what it, in a sense, what I think, in talking about men in particular, come to talk to me about, those kinds of things, right? And when I see it in couples work as well, right? That there's, that this is kind of the struggle that gets, often shows up as a power dynamic and a power struggle between, two people who are different and who are dealing with difference and things like that. And how do you negotiate those things?
So when you see couples, is it often that you're seeing couples who are having some very specific challenges, or is it more general? And when you see them, is it just an ongoing, regular thing that continues forever, or is there usually a specific goal and path to achieving that goal? Because I know there's all different kind of thought processes when it comes to therapy with that kind of thing.
You mean in a couples setting? It really depends, right?
I know a lot of therapists also hate doing couples work.
Oh, yeah.
But I also know a few that really enjoy it, but not all.
I just love sitting with I love sitting in that conversation. It just feels natural to me. It feels really,
it's intimate.
It's intimate. Just as a therapist, what a privilege, just in general, to be kind of at that trusted and in that place in someone's life, in someone else's life, that they're, allowing you to, eavesdrop and be a part of their lives in a very kind of, intimate way, in in a vulnerable, anyway, it's just, to me, it's it's a privilege in that respect, to be sitting in that position.
Wow.
Which kind of informed my work too. I'm aware of that position of the therapist, and the people, are coming to you vulnerable. The idea of, trust, or I have a bit of a different take on than maybe some other therapists who, this is a place that's safe, and people that you kind of hear that a lot,
Right.
First session stuff, right?
Right.
You're in a safe space right now. So,
What is your take?
really? Safe? I don't know how safe this is, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't know. It's safe if you think it's safe.
Right.
I don't, who am I to determine what's safe,
For you.
That's tricky, right?
Especially in a couple session, right? I'm sure some couples come in and they're probably in a place where,
Crisis.
yeah.
Most people.
Right.
The,
I mean, I started doing couples therapy like premarital, and then we just
Yeah.
kept doing it.
Yeah.
And we get along
for
really
the
well.
fun of it. You just kind of went for the fun of it.
Yeah,
Huh?
I mean, we're human beings. We
Sure.
aren't perfect.
Of
We
course.
definitely have stuff that we've struggled with, but I'd say generally speaking, we get along really well. But we do our own individual work, and we do work with each other, you know what I mean, to make sure that we can.
Yeah. Well, you're interested in your internal world, right? That sounds like you both are interested in
Yeah,
what's happening in your kind of inner life.
right.
And that's important to you. And I'm guessing that's part of why you picked your partner. Not me to
Yeah.
predict, but,
Yeah.
to be a predictor. But I'm guessing, right, that, just kind of talking to you and knowing you a little bit about, that that's an important, aspect for you. And so,
Plus, I see so many people that work in this space, whether it be a therapist or someone who works, in treatment centers like me, or who are entrusted to guide or help or support people. And sometimes, especially working side by side, many of these people, sometimes I look at these people and we were talking about it before the episode started, and I'm like, oh my God, this person is so sick. Hey, they can't help anybody. How could they possibly help themselves? So I think it's like almost a duty to make sure that we're in a healthy space where we can actually hold space for others.
well, that's important. I would think, right? Yeah.
You would think. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's obvious. I mean, it sounds obvious, right?
Sounds obvious.
Sounds obvious, yeah. I mean, people are drawn to this field for all kinds of reasons, right? You kind of learn that, you kind of see that along the way. But, I mean, it's complicated. And also the way that I try to see people, right? I try to see people not as pathology, right? Not as the problem. I don't know if you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, not that people have problems, right? People struggle.
People have problems, but they aren't the problem.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's how I tend to.
Yeah, and problems say there's a solution to really any problem. There's a path to overcoming it if you're willing to do the work.
That's right. And people struggle with the path, right? That they're, sometimes that because it's complicated, and it's there's a lot of forces out there that will try to kind of hijack us from those paths, right? That will help us to get through the difficulties. But I mean, life is difficult.
It's like if you have like a 30-year-old car, like the car's not the problem. It's like the alternator that needs to be replaced, and it might run well. The gas line.
Good analogy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything is definitely, there's always a path to healing.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Yeah. I think.
I don't think all people achieve that, but I do believe that it is possible for all people.
Yeah. Yeah. I struggle with the self-help kind of part of this business. Although I don't see myself, there's also there's a huge world of that out there, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a gazillion dollar industry.
Total.
We could talk about the whole thing about that, but so I find myself struggling with that community a bit because, and I don't see self-help as the same as therapy. I mean, it's a very,
It's the opposite. It's self-help, whereas you're relying on an outside entity to come in and help you with a problem. You know, you do is train.
Right. That's right. And so, you know, yeah, I struggle with that kind of idea that somehow you know, there, you know, that I'm just kind of reminded of, you know, on, of course, social media, you see, it's all you see, right? And it's a huge algorithm, right? That you can get kind of down a rabbit hole with. But, you know, there's a lot of this, you know, the happy word of today, to, you know, here's your way to happiness today. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, first of all, you know, it irks me a bit, right? It's a point of contention for me. I feel like, God, you know, what does it mean? I mean, what is success? What is happiness? You know, what are we reaching for, right? I mean, why is it that we have to be a certain, you know, this is how you succeed, you know, that kind, you know,
well, success is defined. It's different for all people.
That's right.
Like
That's
defining what's successful to you is very different than what successful means to somebody else. You know, for one person, it might be, you know, getting married, having kids, owning a home. For another person, same age, same gender, might be like, I absolutely never want to get married. I want to, you know, live in a city, you know. Right. You know, it's just, it varies from person to person. That's so, right.
And so does therapy, right?
Right.
So people's struggles vary from there's no, that's what I mean by the, you know, to kind of put a pathology onto somebody, you're already starting I think in a not such a great place, because you know, then you've put some sort of a measurement on, a metric on what this client is supposed to do this. They're supposed to be here, or supposed to be, it's ridiculous.
Right.
That's not going to help anybody. That's not going to serve anyone. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, you know, the experience of being human, right, is complicated and rich and thick and all kinds of stuff, right? The stories.
That's a good way to describe it.
The stories of our lives, right? I mean, they're up and they're down and they're over here and they're over there.
The story of our life. I like that you said that, because the stories of our lives, if I told you the story of my life right now versus 5 years ago versus 10 years ago, it would be an entirely different story. And the experiences have remained the same. The things that happen, things that didn't happen. But like, even that is so subjective.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Depending on which lens you're looking through.
Yeah.
And also, like, as we grow and we change, our ability to look back and perceive things in a different light really does shift.
Sure.
For me, it's been for the better, right? Some of the worst things that I thought that ever happened to me in my entire life, I now look back and I'm like, maybe that wasn't the worst thing. Maybe it was a bad thing. It was a painful thing. It was a hard thing. But there was some purpose in that. And now I'm able to look at it from a totally different lens and see how it maybe and made me the person I am today for the better.
Right. Sure. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes, you know, people talk about, I want to be better. I want to be this. You know, I like to replace the word with preferable. Mm-hmm. You know, what's our preferences? What are our preferences in life? What do we want? How do we want to show up? Mm-hmm. Right.
So with couples, what do you see the biggest challenges when you work with a couple that you see reoccurring in many different?
Difference.
What do you mean?
We're all different, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it feels I watch folks often struggle with difference, and can't, you know, it's the thing. It's interesting, right? I mean, what ends up happening in a couple, I think, is that, I mean, you know, again, it's you know, fundamental, but you know, couples are drawn to each other, right? Mm-hmm. And it's generally the thing that draws you to the person that ultimately
drives you apart.
Kind of drives you apart.
Oh, that's so funny.
Right? You know, somebody who's they were super responsible.
Yeah.
And now they're just a selfish asshole.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? Like some few years later, they've now become, instead of responsible, because they were doing everything, they were taking care of things, they were right. Now they're just controlled.
Good. Now they're controlling.
Right.
Right.
So those are the stories, right, that start to, you start to see some patterns, right, in couples. Generally, there's a dynamic that each couple's so unique, right? There is no, in my mind at least, there's no kind of, there are some archetypal dynamics, right? The kind of, the chaser and the withdrawer, that kind of, right? But ultimately, every couple is unique, right? And their union, right? Their coming together forms a dynamic. Sometimes those dynamics are unhealthy. And what ends up happening, I think, in a dynamic is that reputations get developed. Right? So what I mean by that is that when there's a conflict that arises, right, at some point, that you start to see your partner reputationally, right? So you kind of lose sight of who is this person, right? Who is this person that I care so deeply about and I'm so drawn to and so connected to, and we're attached, or whatever, kind of word you want to use, but you start to see them reputationally, right? And reputations are easy to destroy, right? As opposed to the person themselves, right? You're not going to destroy it, but a character, right? A reputation you can kind of tear apart, right? And that happens often, right? That you, in a conflict, like all of a sudden you become that, you're always that. Right.
You have a reputation for being controlling.
That's right.
Right.
There you are. There.
So now you are controlling, as far as I'm concerned. That is who you are. That is, you're.
It becomes very easy to kind of destroy someone controlling, right? To say, I'm done.
Right.
Right. So it's not so much people that are problematic. It's the reputations that become problematic. People are, wanting to be together. They're caring. They're generally, if they're showing up to see me, often, they want to work things out. Right. They want to feel connected. They want to feel, right, the things that drew them together in the first place. So differences can start to do that, right? You start to see the differences, and then you really kind of, they become much more animated, right? Much more dramatic.
Right, especially when you're living in the same house with someone.
Same house, or you have kids, whatever, whatever stressors that ensue, right? That make things challenging for us, right? I mean, life is challenging, right? As we know. And so, that's, and then of course the vulnerability piece, and that, it becomes difficult to ask for what you need, and all of that, that's within the context of difference, in a sense, right? That becomes, and so you got a bunch of problems, right? That start to build up and develop, and,
and everything becomes a problem.
And then everything becomes a problem. That's right. And so that's often what I tend to kind of see in.
Have you seen anybody's relationship end after going to therapy?
Sure. After going,
or like making a decision to end the relationship.
Oh yeah,
therapy?
Sure, that happens often. But I'm not so sure therapy ends the relationship.
No. Yeah. But I mean, they make the decision to separate.
Sure. They see there's
fundamental differences.
There's all kinds of things. There's fundamental differences. There's just there's just too much water under the bridge.
Infidelity, whatever it might be.
Well, yeah, and those are difficult things to overcome. Not that they can't be,
right?
Because I've seen people get
absolutely
through all kinds of difficult challenges, right? And sure, those are biggies, right? Those are sexual betrayal and things like that. Those are those are significant kinds of
challenges.
Yeah, for sure. They're, as Esther Perel would say, those are like big kind of, it's like I kind of call it, it's like a STEMI. It's like a massive heart attack or something that you've experienced, right? Those are big things. So yeah, I mean, but so whatever challenges people are coming in with, sometimes they're just insurmountable for them, and they can't overcome them together, or there's just damage that's been done or they can't negotiate, right? They can't negotiate. And negotiation to me is a huge skill for a couple, right? To be able to be that facile with negotiating, right? Negotiating to me means not compromise. I'm not a big person on compromise, right? Negotiation really, I mean negotiation where, you talk a challenge or problem through, and you both collaborate in a way that you're going to give something up, or you're going to walk away. Both people or folks are going to walk away feeling comfortable. They've given something up, but they're comfortable. You're going to make sure that your partner's comfortable, and that
you got to give a little and take a little.
Well, yeah, and sometimes we do things for our partners that we
wouldn't have otherwise done.
That's right.
Totally.
So we give something up that may be important to us, but we want to make sure that our partner's comfortable, and we're okay with that, and we walk away comfortable too. That's a skill, right? That's something that you want to be able to do as a couple, to collaborate that way, right? To care about each other's feelings. Which I think is not so easy. I think people
want what they want.
People want what they want. I'm not so sure that, again, getting back to culture, that our culture is not, we are not acculturated to care about each other's feelings.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know. I'll tell you what, like, after starting this podcast, and it's only been a couple months, right? But, there's more and more people that I don't know personally, people I've never met who, watch the show and are on the social media pages. And man, I'll tell you what, the episodes and the reels that have done the best are the ones where people start just like attacking and bullying. And if one does, 100 more will. And the ones that get the least amount of views are the ones that don't have any, nobody has a reason to attack. And I'm like, oh my God, people are so mean. I was laying in bed with my husband the other night, and I was like reading a comment on, somebody else posted. I was like, wow, people are just not nice. Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't really care, but it's something that's very interesting about how
I can see it's working you up a bit. It's touching you, yeah.
I mean, the one that I'm talking about, it wasn't even directed towards me. It was, somebody else that we had on the show, another guest. And they were just talking about their own experience, right? Nothing super controversial. Like, it was just pretty, but I'm just like, wow, people, there's something about, the way our culture is today that is like not supportive, generally speaking. Especially when we're talking about the internet and social media and all of these things. It's like, it's not good. It's not good. It's really not.
No.
I mean, on the one side, it gives people this opportunity to like openly express themselves and connect with people they wouldn't otherwise reach in a way that is novel, which is kind of cool, right? To get our ideas out there, good, bad, or ugly. I'm very much a person and believes that people should be able to communicate whatever the heck they want. I just may not agree with all those things, right?
That's good.
But then there's this other side of it where it can become, I'm sure you probably see it in your practice, of people just like really depressed, alone on the screen 24/7. I work with an adolescent group, and we see a lot of that with the kids. Really bad. It's just, it's an interesting world we live in. It's just that it's not how we human beings, we're meant to communicate, when we came onto this earth.
I don't think we anticipated this, right?
Yeah, it's like information overload, right?
Information overload, yeah. I mean, I find myself kind of down a rabbit hole, as I said before, you really guess, oh my God, this is, where did I go? Like, what just happened?
Right.
Yeah,
an hour and a half has gone by. I just watched 700 puppy videos.
Yeah, right. But it's also very destabilizing, right? I mean, you're kind of going like, who do you believe here? Like, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, you got to do your own fact checking.
It's really, it can be very, very dicey out there, and as you said, like, I think there's a lot of mean-spiritedness going on, that, on social media and just in general, the politics of today, just seems to be, I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of, I don't know, sentimental in some way. I don't know, kind of.
It'd be very polarizing, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so,
right, center, anywhere where you stand. It's very,
right.
There's, us and them.
Yeah, Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that happens with couples,
Right.
right? Like that's the dynamic that ends up in some ways it's highly political, right?
Right.
A lot of the politics with a small p, right?
Totally.
That get involved in a couple dynamic, in a dyad like that, right?
That's interesting. Me and my husband have same values. Our value systems as a whole are very similar, but our politics are a little bit different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, whatever.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is not terribly separated, but a little bit different on certain things. Yeah. Yeah. And we
like to get in the middle of that, like to understand that a little bit more.
You don't really fight about it
No,
we don't. We'll talk about it. He'll say something, and I'll be like, nah, I don't really agree with that. We can have like conversations, but we don't really get angry about it.
No.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I'm like, whatever. That's not what I
Well, that's a skill. I mean, so how do you, I mean, you must have your couples therapist maybe.
Yeah, well, that was never really a challenge that we had.
So the actual...
Because even when we first met, it was probably even further apart. And, we've been together almost 6 years at this point.
Yeah.
So things have like, our own point of views have shifted and changed. But, yeah, we were like even farther apart, I think, when we first met.
How don't you find yourselves moving kind of closer together?
Well, I think it's kind of what you said. There's certain areas where we negotiated. And I also think my viewpoints when I was 25 are very different now, being 33 on a lot of different things. You know what I mean? Some things haven't changed, and probably him too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you find yourselves kind of... obviously, people grow, right? I mean, that's people grow. I mean, that's you don't stay.
Yeah,
we're not stagnant, right? I mean, we're not.
Yeah, but our inherent views, on how we would want to raise children, on our finances, shared finances, that kind of thing. Those are the same. Yeah. Premarital therapy really helped with that, because it's funny. We've been together 3.5 years before we got married. And we were living together, and we had never really had sex, intimacy. We had never had very clear conversations on those kinds of things. And it's surprising how many couples haven't. Before we got married, we decided to do premarital therapy because, it was suggested. And we were like, all right, cool. And one of the first things we talked about was finances. And it was it wasn't like we were totally in other worlds with each other as far as finances, but we had never talked about are we going to have a shared bank account? You know what I mean? Or are we going to have separate bank accounts? And are we going to split all the bills, or is one of us going to pay the bills? You know what I mean? What is okay as far as spending if we have a shared bank? Silly things that don't sound like a big deal that really divide couples and create, massive schisms in the relationship are just things, there's just conversations that we had not had.
Yeah, those are not silly. Those are not.
No, I know, but we just had never had it. So we went to therapy, right? Yeah. And I remember my therapist asking both of us, how do you think Glynis is with money? And then looking at my husband, Andrew, or looking at me, how do you think do you consider Andrew to be a responsible spender, a good saver? Things like that, what we think of ourselves versus what our partner thinks, right? And it was very interesting and useful. That's
a fascinating exercise.
It was.
Yeah, it's an interesting exercise. I mean, you're right onto it, right? I mean, I think relationships in they're really it's the nuts and bolts. It's the that kind of make it. I mean, that's how it works. It's not some, kind of pie in the sky, kind of, right? I mean,
silly foundational stuff that just you never talk about it. Then you're in it, you're married, and you're fighting.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're living in some sort of magical thinking about,
or oh, do you want kids, or do you not? Because sometimes people have those conversations. Sometimes they don't, or sometimes, I have a close friend of mine who got into a relationship, got married, and wanted kids, and the other person didn't. And they both knew that from the beginning. And one of them kind of said, okay, I'll give in, but they weren't actually okay with that. And then ended up ending the relationship. It was one of the fundamental things that ended their marriage. And it was a conversation they had, but it wasn't really their truth, when they agreed. So, it was all these foundational things in relationships. Do you want kids? Okay. How many kids do you want? How many kids do you want?
Yeah.
How do you want to raise your kids? Right. Are you going to spank your kids? Like, you know what I mean? Like, both of us having those conversations. Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's spanking the kids and you don't believe in that, it's probably going to create some issues.
Well, at some point it will, right? So if you're going to stumble upon these dilemmas at some point in the relationship, right? So yeah.
Do you want to go to church? Okay, what is your religious background? Right. Are you both agreed upon?
Absolutely.
Like, you know.
Yeah. These differences are, you know, the kind of bread and butter of the relationship. And so, yeah, it's really having these nuts and bolts conversations with each other. And like you're saying, right? I mean, that's, you know, and I believe couples should be able to talk about anything together, right?
Right.
You know, that's the skill of it, right? That's the art of the relationship, right? How do you negotiate these and at times can be very difficult conversations.
Right. Our therapist says, like, no, feeling is a bad feeling. It's the behavior or the action that might be inexcusable, right? So is it okay to feel jealous? That's one thing I hate. I hate jealousy, right? And I don't like to feel like I'm being controlled, right? And you know, there's been times where my husband's been a little jealous, a little insecure, right? But not controlling. And there's been times where he hasn't been able to, like, or felt like he was able to voice those things. Like, I'm feeling a little insecure right now, because he felt like I would be reactive to that. And again, he's never told me where I could go or what I can do and can't do. So there's no, like, behaviors, but, like, the feeling itself is okay, and we should be able to talk about it.
That's right. You should be able to talk about anything. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to make room for,
and also be willing to know that there might be a reaction from whatever.
That's right. I mean, we're not, you know, relationships are, you know, at least from my perspective. I mean, it's not about, it's, you know, we're not there to necessarily meet our partner's needs, right? We're not need kind of meters, right? That's not what we are, right? I'm just here for your needs, right? I mean, it's important to ask for your needs, right? That's critical. That's a big deal. But it's certainly not your partner's responsibility
to meet every single one.
Right. That's right. And I think some people feel like that is what, you know, that I'm not getting my needs met, you know, so, okay, well, right. So I think that a big piece of a relationship is really, we're here to have another person that we're drawn to somehow, right? To kind of try to understand us, right? To make room for who we are,
right?
Whatever that means. And that's the, you know, hearing some difficult things, or, you know,
expressing
like,
some difficult things.
That's right. And so that's where the caring about each other's feelings really comes into play, right? Like, I really care about your feelings, right? I care about what just happened. Even, you know, it's like people are afraid to do that, right? And I didn't do anything, you know, they don't want to, you know, but it doesn't mean you did something,
right?
It just means that you may have caused there was a rupture there, and somehow you know, you stumbled on it, you know, you kind of stepped on their toes somehow, and it hurt, you know, I don't know, but you need to be able to talk about those. Oh, what just happened? That what did I do? Right? What did I do that just did that to you? And so curiosity with our partners is so important to take that position of, it's like, oh wow, so that hurt your feelings. Oh, that was wow, when I did that, that really pissed you off. Oh, right. I saw that. Right? We don't do that. Laugh. Right? That's not
just recognition, right?
Recognition, making room, making kind of space for somebody to have their experience, right? So that we can then we can find our way to maybe negotiating,
right,
together, right? To collaborate, you know, which is what collaboration is, right?
Right.
Kind of understanding each other, and then we make decisions based on that, right? It's like, oh, if we do that, that's going to really set you off because of maybe some experience you've had, and you just can't do it.
Right.
So, okay, well, I don't want to do that to you, so I'm working. This is the clear decision here, right?
Right.
So that's kind of what, it's delicate work. It's delicate to be in a relationship, right? You know what I mean? So.
Well, Marc, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. It's been really an awesome episode.
Oh, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah. So, I kind of like where this went.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Heard so many things. Marc, is there a way if anybody wants to learn more about you or reach you? Do you have a website, email, Instagram?
I have an email. You can at marcdlin@gmail.com.
There we go.
And it's with a C. Marc with a C. D. Lynn. D as in David, Lynn @gmail.com.
All right.
And you can find me there.
All right.
I should have a website for that.
It's all right. Sounds like you're busy enough. You don't need it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Peak of Possibility podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, comment, subscribe. You can find the full episode at YouTube or Spotify. And if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or substance use disorder, please reach out to us, give us a call, email us, or DM us directly on social media.